Hi, my name is Shalindri, and I watched a Stolen Generation story, which was a testimonial by Donna Meehan. As a Gamilaroi child, she was taken away from her family at the age of 5. Her story was very deep and a personal story. When she mentioned the age, my mind automatically connected to the children that I currently work with. The trauma of being taken away from your family at such a young age moved me so much. As I listened to a story, I utilized the pedagogy of listening. In Reggio Emilia's 100 Languages of Children, in the chapter of Pedagogy of Listening, it says listening should be open and sensitive and need to listen with all our senses, not just with our ears. As I listened to Donna, I did notice her muscle movements in the face, her expressions, her silences, her words, her tones. It was full of emotions. As I listened to it several times, I could regulate my emotions. In the same chapter of the pedagogy of listening, it says listening is an emotion. It is generated by emotions, influenced by emotions of others, and it stimulates emotions, which sums it up as it was a powerful emotion. Some of the challenges that I encountered are that Donna's story carried layers of trauma, the loss of identity, and her resilience. That I needed emotional courage to listen to, and I listened deeply even when it wasn't the most comfortable. Her story did change my perspectives and gave me a better understanding in reconciliation. So, according to the article Early Childhood Australia 2022, reconciliation is a term that is used to describe the unifying process that brings Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people into a more respectful relationship that restores justice and equity for everyone. As this story has shifted my perspective on how I view children, families, and their stories, and my role as an educator. Donna's story asks us to feel, see, and understand things in ways that goes beyond information. This has taught me instead of listening for answers, I can listen to understand. There were two most impactful moments in the video. First one was when the train pulls out. Her mother fading away was haunting and transformative. I think it captured the stolen generation in one single image. It is a moment, a child being taken away, a mother being left behind, and a bond being torn apart. The other one was when Donna meeting her birth mother when she's an adult, and realizing the woman she resented, imagined, and longed had never stopped loving her. And mom herself has carried her own trauma and grief from the forced removal for decades. It was both a very powerful moments uh, and shows decades of misunderstanding, pain, trauma, and the identity struggles. Watching Donna Meehan's testimonial has reshaped my pedagogy of listening, and I was engaging with her story through the lenses of inclusion, privilege, abilities, and they felt deeper and more ethical. I strongly advocate for every child deserves to be seen, heard, valued, and understood through this story. I recognize the privilege of growing up with family, maintaining your identity, and a deeper understanding on impact from exclusion and how systems can erase identity. According to FLIA 2022, the effects of early childhood education on children's subsequent achievement in later schooling and beyond has been well documented through many small-scale studies. Because Donna's fundamental rights have been taken away, which impacted in school and beyond. Even though she was adopted by a nice family, the struggle was quite evident. I think Donna's story shifted my view, and I look at inclusive practice as a moral responsibility now. Observing a child to truly hear them, their identities, histories, silences, struggles, and their ways of being is more important. And noticing small cues behind the behavior, especially the silences and the struggle. as every family, every child carry their own story. Some were spoken and some were silent. Um, to create a belonging environment, it is important to respond to children's intentions. As an example, how a child enters, what they manipulate with, what they play with, who they gravitate towards, and what materials they use is important. Also, noticing patterns, understanding triggers, and interpreting behaviors play a role. We can slow down, notice more, and respond and reflect to form positive relationships and to acknowledge children and families with special rights. Using the pedagogy of listening has taught me to respect each child's identity and culture and respond to diverse communication styles and support equity, and to advocate that every child's right to be seen, heard, and valued as a whole person.